To-do lists seem like something simple, right? A little piece of paper, an app on your phone, just to organize your day and make your life easier. But for those with ADHD, this innocent little list has a frightening power. It grows and grows, and before you know it, it has become a giant monster that seems to swallow up all your energy. Just imagine, you sit down to make your to-do list for the day, starting with the most obvious things: answer emails, wash the dishes, study a little. It seems easy. But then, out of nowhere, your brain starts to give you those memories. Oh, and don't forget to change the light bulb in the living room. You promised to call that friend. Wouldn't it be a good idea to tidy up that drawer? What if you need to go to the grocery store? And so on. It's an avalanche. Each item you add becomes a mini worry that pokes at your head, making the list longer and time seem shorter. And that's just the beginning of the confusion. Because for those with ADHD, the list is not a simple script. It becomes an endless puzzle, where the pieces change places all the time. And there is no magic or lack of will here. Think of the ADHD brain as a car with the handbrake on and the accelerator pressed hard, a paradox. You want to speed up, you want to do everything, but there is an invisible force that stops the movements. This means that even though you want to cross off each item, the brain gets stuck when it comes to prioritizing, focusing, and maintaining attention. So, what happens? That list that should help ends up becoming a constant reminder of what was not done. What was left behind the day before is carried over to the next day, along with the new tasks. And so, the list just keeps growing, and the feeling of always being behind and playing catch-up becomes routine. If this sounds familiar, know that it is not your fault.
And you are not alone.
We know that feeling of trying to organize the chaos and, in the end, feeling that it only got bigger. The good news is that understanding how and why this list becomes a monster is the first step to starting to tame it. Have you ever noticed how the brain with ADHD feels like an overcrowded computer? Imagine opening your browser and having not 5, not 10, but 72 open tabs, each one with a video, a page, an idea, a flashing notification. And the worst part, none of them are playing music to help you focus, just a constant buzzing, a wind noise that distracts you without you knowing where it's coming from. Each open tab is a thought, a task, or a concern competing for your attention. And trying to choose which tab to close is such a challenge that you end up not closing any of them.
The result?
You're left there, paralyzed, looking at everything at the same time and unable to concentrate on anything. That classic stuckness that we're all too familiar with. Now, apply this metaphor to your to-do list. It's no longer a friendly guide, but a dark forest full of seemingly endless trails. You don't know which way to go, you get lost among the items, and end up unable to start. It's like trying to turn on the TV without a remote control. You know the schedule is there, but there's no easy way to get to it. Plus, there's dopamine, a brain chemical that's like the fuel for motivation and pleasure. When you cross a task off your list, it's like a little dopamine party going off in your head, a mini celebration that makes you want to do it again. But if the list is huge and nothing gets done, that party simply doesn't happen, and then you feel discouraged and lazy. Another detail that makes everything more complicated is time. For those with ADHD, time can feel like liquid running through your fingers, hard to hold on to. You start the task, but soon your attention is sucked into your cell phone, a random thought, or the background noise. Then your focus turns into a soap bubble, beautiful and full of potential, but super fragile and hard to maintain.
And the pressure? That's the hardest part.
When you expect to do it all, and you can't, the guilt hits hard. The list that was supposed to help you becomes a source of anxiety, and the monster grows even bigger, making everything even more difficult. But here's the secret: none of this is your fault. It's just the way your brain works differently, and knowing these quirks is the first step to finding ways to better deal with all this confusion. For someone with ADHD, the to-do list is like that complicated relationship with a crush. Sometimes you love them, and sometimes you want to disappear. There are days when crossing an item off the list is like winning an Olympic trophy. Dopamine spikes, self-esteem soars, and the feeling is almost like a superpower. Like when you can do a victory dance in the living room without even bothering to call the neighbors. But at other times, the list becomes like that clingy ex who won't let go of you for anything. You try to run away, look away, pretend it's not there, but the list insists on appearing. It grows, screams in your head, and the guilt creeps in. Why didn't you do this? Can't you do it? Everyone can do it except you. If this sounds familiar, take a deep breath. It's normal. The funny thing is that each person with ADHD has a different relationship with this list. Some people use colorful post-its stuck around the house, transforming each task into a work of visual art. Others prefer apps that play upbeat music each time a task is completed, an extra incentive to get up off the couch. And there are those who create lists of what they've already done, to see that, yes, even slowly, something is moving forward. But then a common villain comes into play: the comparison effect. You look at your colleague's list, all organized and crossed out, and think, how can he do it?
WHY kennt I.
This thought only makes the monster grow, along with the anxiety and that feeling of inadequacy that everyone with ADHD knows all too well. The good news? This emotional roller coaster is part of the experience, and accepting it is a huge step towards being kinder to yourself. Productivity is not a rigid standard, it's a spectrum. And the list that has become a monster can, with patience and creativity, become an ally, or at least a less scary monster. Taming the to-do list monster isn't something that can be done with a magic wand, but there are some tricks that many people with ADHD use to avoid running away halfway through the task. The idea here is not to create yet another obligation, but rather to transform the list into a less frightening ally, like that friend you know sometimes annoys you, but who also helps you. A first tip is to upgrade the traditional list by making it visual. Forget about that paper full of small words that you just glance at and get lost. Use colorful post-its, whiteboards, drawings, or even emojis. Turning tasks into something colorful and fun helps the brain to engage. Plus, having a visible place where the list is right in front of you can be a gentle reminder, without the pressure of constantly checking your phone. Another tactic is to break down big tasks into micro steps. Clean the house becomes put away the books, sweep the floor, wash the dishes. Each micro step you cross off is a little dopamine party, which gives you that little push to keep going. Imagine each mini task as a little dragon that you defeat, one by one, until the big monster disappears. There's also the famous timer, like the Pomodoro method, which helps you control your time and focus. You choose a short period, usually 15 or 20 minutes, to work on a task and then take a break to breathe, stretch, or even watch a funny video. This break is essential to keep your brain from getting tired. It's like giving the monster a break so it doesn't get so hungry. Interestingly, some people create lists of what they've already done, instead of what's left. It seems a bit counterintuitive, but seeing the collection of tasks crossed off can give you a boost of self-esteem, especially on difficult days. It's like looking at the medals from a marathon and remembering that, despite the fatigue, you're moving forward. The most important thing in the end is to use these strategies to help, not to put more pressure on yourself. If the list becomes a monster again, that's okay, we'll try again tomorrow. Every attempt, no matter how small, is a victory. If your to-do list has become a giant monster, know that it has nothing to do with you being messy, lazy, or incapable. In fact, your brain is just configured differently, like that program that doesn't run the same on all computers, you know? Living with ADHD means accepting these differences, being patient with yourself, and when the monster on the list gets too much, stopping, taking a deep breath, and who knows, turning the list into a paper airplane and throwing it away for a moment. And there's something we need to remember. No matter how long the list is, you're not alone in this. There are a multitude of people who live this madness together, laughing at the blunders, finding strategies, and trying to tame this monster every day. In the end, what matters is building a lighter relationship with tasks, respecting your time and your way of functioning. After all, being human, with or without ADHD, is a delightful mess, full of mistakes, successes, and laughter along the way. So the next time the list looks like a scary monster, remember, it's just a strange little creature that you can learn to know, tame, and maybe even befriend.